In this video, we're taking you along on our 10-day winter road trip through Central Europe. Our route took us from East Germany, into Prague, onto Auschwitz, Kraków, Zakopane in the Polish Tatra Mountains, then through Bratislava, Vienna, and finally Salzburg, with a pit stop at the Red Bull Hangar 7. We kicked off the trip from our home base in Stuttgart, driving around 2.5 hours before stopping in Nuremberg to stretch our legs and wander the Christmas market. It was cute, but fairly typical compared to the many markets we visited. We grabbed some food and treats, burned off a bit of energy, and then hit the road again for another 3-hour drive to Prague. We had just one full day in Prague, so we made the most of it. Our centrally located hotel made it easy to walk about 10 minutes to Old Town Square and the Christmas market. We wandered around, soaking in the atmosphere and admiring the world's oldest astronomical clock, which was built in 1410. We made our way across the famous Charles Bridge, which was built in 1357 and connects the Old Town to Prague Castle across the river. We explored the castle grounds and made our way over to the impressive St. Vitus Cathedral and all the small nativity scene exhibits. After Prague Castle, we hopped on the historic Tram 42 and rode it to Wenceslas Square, home to yet another Christmas market. Here we decided to try ice skating, giving Levi his very first experience on the ice. Despite being mildly traumatized by the man next to me who put his bare feet into the rental skates, we had an amazing time. That evening, we headed to the restaurant where food and drinks are delivered by mini trains. It was such a fun experience for kids and adults alike. The next morning, we drove about 4 hours to Bielsko-Biała, a quiet town in Poland that was mostly closed for the holidays. We still enjoyed the festive statues and Christmas displays before grabbing dinner at the only open restaurant that we could find. On a much quieter and more somber note, we made the decision to include a visit to Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial as a part of our road trip. We were advised to book a ticket well in advance, but even 3 weeks before our trip, all online reservations were already sold out. I learned that a limited number of first-come, first-served tickets are released daily, but people often start lining up as early as 5 a.m. So the next morning, I woke up at 4:30 and took an Uber to get in line. After waiting from about 5:30 to 9 a.m., I secured a spot in the English tour at 11:30. I spent the wait reading my Kindle in the cafe before the tour began. The visit takes you through the original buildings, now preserved as museum spaces. Inside are photographs of those who lost their lives, along with the overwhelming number of personal belongings taken from the victims before they were murdered. Seeing these items in person truly puts into perspective the immense scale of the atrocities that took place here. At Auschwitz I, you walk through the partially restored gas chamber. At Birkenau, you see the remains of the destroyed chambers, as well as the remarkably preserved barrack that shows the harsh conditions in which prisoners were forced to live. It's an incredibly heavy experience, but an important one to bear witness to. I was grateful for the hour-long train ride back to Kraków, which gave me some time to reflect and decompress before meeting up with Ryan and the kids downtown for dinner and an evening stroll through the city. The following day, it was Ryan's turn to visit Auschwitz, so the kids and I headed back downtown to explore Kraków. Along the way, we stumbled upon the Barbican and the old city walls as we made our way to the Old Town. We wandered through the cobblestone streets and eventually found ourselves in front of St. Mary's Basilica and the main market square. We grabbed a waffle and some goat cheese from the Christmas market before heading to the mall to warm up and let the kids play at the cutest indoor play area. Ryan had a bit more luck than I did and managed to secure an earlier tour at Auschwitz. Once he got back, we all went for a ride on the really fun Christmas tree ride downtown, and then hopped on the train to visit the Prague Castle and see the famous fire-breathing dragon. We wrapped up the night by meeting our friend Dan for dinner. The The restaurant was fantastic, and they even had a small play corner for the kids, which was the perfect way to end the day. The next morning, we tried ice skating again at Krakow Ice Park. Levi was less enthusiastic this time, so we kept it short and then began our drive to the snowy storybook town of Zakopane, about 2.5 hours away. Here we stayed just a couple blocks from downtown. In Zakopane, we leaned fully into winter activities. The kids tried skiing for the first time at the Nozzle Ski Center. Not exactly a success, but a good introduction. We definitely spent more time in the cafe than we did on the slopes. One of the highlights of our time in this area was a horse-drawn sleigh ride through the snowy mountains, complete with live music and dinner. Wrapped in fur blankets, bells jingling, snow falling, it was absolutely magical. The evening ended with a fireside meal, unlimited glühwein, soups, sausage, cheese, and traditional Polish music. We spent a few hours wandering through downtown Zakopane, which was absolutely charming but very crowded. Toward the edge of the town, we came across a small, cozy Christmas market. These quieter markets with fewer people are always my favorite to walk through. And at the end of the market was the entrance to the Park of a Million Lights, where we spent about an hour enjoying the festive displays and watching Levi pull Heidi around on the sled. We ended the night with a traditional Polish dinner back downtown. On our final day in Zakopane, we went snow tubing, which may have ended up being Levi's favorite winter activity. We had some fantastic meals in Zakopane, especially at the Donkey Dwór, where trout swim beneath the glass floor and are caught fresh to order. The service was slow, but the huge play area for the kids made up for it. And then it was time to head through the mountains and into Slovakia. Along our 4-hour drive to Bratislava, we passed the stunning Prague Castle, an unforgettable sight along the way. That evening felt especially magical, with big fluffy snowflakes falling as we wandered through the streets and explored the 2 Christmas markets. The markets were lively and festive, with a few rides that the kids absolutely loved. As we continued walking along the softly lit roads, we started spotting the cutest little elf window displays tucked around the city. They quickly became a fun surprise for both the kids and myself. We had one more full day to explore before heading toward our final stop in Salzburg. During our day in Bratislava, we sampled traditional Slovak food, wandered through the old town, visited St. Michael's Gate, stopped to touch the famous Chumil statue for good luck, and of course, made our way up to the Bratislava Castle. On our way to Salzburg, we stopped in Vienna to see the city and its famous Christmas markets. I loved how spread out they were, with lots of space for kids to play. We didn't stay here long, but we did grab a giant pretzel for the road. Once in Salzburg, we explored the town, walked through the Mirabell Gardens, and surprise, found yet another Christmas market. That night, we somehow ended up at an all-you-can-eat sushi and Chinese buffet, and it was honestly amazing. On the final day of our road trip, we visited Red Bull Hangar 7, a huge hit with both the kids, thanks to the airplanes, helicopters, and the race cars on display. Spending more than 24 hours total in the car with 2 little kids was definitely a gamble, but I'm so glad we took this trip before leaving Europe. It allowed us to see places that we likely wouldn't make a special transatlantic trip for. And I'll always say yes to discovering a new mountain range. Thanks so much for following along, and we look forward to seeing you on our next adventure.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.